Tonight is the night. Rudolph and I flew down from the North Pole special. We heard this was going to be the most exciting show that we've had in years. Gonna be something really special. Of course, we've actually been flying back and forth over Beacon Hill for quite a while. Rudolph needed a little practice this year. See, he's getting up in age now. He's now 73 years old. He was born in 1939. And actually, I didn't own him originally. His original owner was a man called Robert May. And Robert wasn't very good at naming reindeer. His original name was supposed to be Rollo. Can you imagine Rollo, the red-nosed reindeer? Didn't work. So somebody told him, you need a new name. So he picked out Reginald. Can you believe that? Reginald the reindeer. Well, I heard about him, and I said, I really think that reindeer would work for me. Somebody told me about his nose. And I said, a reindeer that has a glowing nose, that would be so great. So I went and I picked him up from Robert, but we renamed him to Rudolph. It was much easier to call him Rudolph than Reginald. That just didn't work. But anyway, like I say, we've been flying back and forth. And the other morning, we flew over Beacon Hill, and he lit up his nose so bright I thought he was going to outdo the sun. And I thought, what in the heck is with him? Well, it turned out he saw all the flags on top of your building in the health center where you're putting a new roof, and he thought those flags were for him. But, yeah, Rudolph needed a little practice this year, and the reason is, he's not real good at landing quietly on roofs anymore. In fact, he woke a little girl up last year. And I went down into the house through the chimney, and I'm bending down, putting my sack on the floor, and I felt a little tug on my jacket. And I didn't pay much attention. I thought, well, somebody's puppy. Then I bent over to put something under the tree, and somebody yanked on my beard. Got my attention in a hurry. So I turned around and I look, and here is this little girl, maybe 3 years old or so, and she's like this. I thought, I wonder what she wants. So I reached down and got to her thing, and she's whispering in my ear. And I got such a belly laugh out of what she said. I said to her, no, dear, reindeer are not horses with TV antennas on their head. Anyway, we've been sort of on a little diet program at the North Pole. I've been worried about my elves because Mrs. Claus is always feeding them cookies. So I asked them one day, I said, what is it you have for breakfast? And the head elf that does the cooking, he says, oh, Frosted Flakes. I said, oh, that sounds pretty good. I said, how about lunch? He says, well, we get alphabet soup. I said, okay, that sounds really good. But I got concerned about how their diet was, and I thought, they really need to, make a garden this year. So they went out, and instead of one garden, they ended up making 3. And I said, why would you make 3 gardens? They said, oh, so you can ho, ho, ho. Well, anyway, we've really been having a lot of fun at the North Pole. Kids today are a little different than you were years ago. You know, I have to work extremely hard making new toys this year. And the reason is they're not into the same mode that we were. I have a whole storeroom full of bicycles. They don't ask for bicycles as much anymore. They don't want erector sets or Tinker toys or Monopoly games or any of that stuff. It all has to be these new electronic gadgets that they never get outside. No. I do have to admit, though, we are still getting rid of dolls. Little girls still ask for dolls. And the little boys, they still like the little toy soldiers. So those are doing very well this year. Anyway, this show is about to start. Siobhan's going to be your MC tonight, and I think you're going to find this show very exciting. But I know they're going to want some audience participation. So we're going to try a little audience participation right now. Everybody knows this. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Mary. Merry Christmas and good night to all.
Good evening. Welcome to our annual Christmas presentation. The staff are very excited tonight. I think you'll see a lot of good talent. Believe it or not, we do have some really, really good talent here at Beacon Hill. So this ought to be really, really fun for you all tonight. So thank you for coming. I hope you enjoy the presentation. We're going to start off with our first presentation, and this is from G&A, which is Human Resources, Finance, and Marketing. So I'm going to let them start off with it. So here they are.
Hello, everybody. I'm sure we're all very familiar with the story, "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." But unfortunately, no one really talks about what happens after Christmas. So we're going to tell you a little story called "'Twas the Month After Christmas." 'Twas the month after Christmas, and all through the house, nothing would fit me, not even a blouse. The cookies I'd nibbled, the eggnog I'd taste, at holiday parties had gone to my waist. When I got on the scales, there arose such a number. When I walked to the store, really less a walk, more like a lumber, I'd remembered the marvelous meals I'd prepared, the gravies and sauces and beef nicely reared, the punch and the candy, the bread and the cheese, and the way I had not said, "No, thank you, please." As I dressed myself in my husband's old shirt and prepared once again to do battle with dirt, I said to myself, as I only can, "You can't spend a winter disguised as a man." So away with the last of the sour cream dip. Get rid of the fruitcake, every cracker and chip. Every last bit of food that I like must be banished till all the additional ounces have vanished. I won't have a cookie, not even a lick. I'll only want to chew on a long celery stick. I won't have hot biscuits or cornbread or pie. I'll munch on a carrot and quietly cry. I'm hungry, I'm lonesome, and life is a bore. But isn't that what January is for? Unable to giggle, no longer a riot. Happy New Year to all, and to all, a good diet.
Wow, I can relate to that. Can you? Well, speaking of Christmas and the Christmas month of December, as GNA just discussed, they talked about what happens after Christmas, but I have some holiday eating tips for you for the month of December, for this Christmas season. You know, they mentioned carrot sticks in their presentation. About those carrot sticks, avoid them. Anyone who puts carrot sticks on a holiday buffet table knows nothing of the Christmas spirit. In fact, if you see carrots, leave immediately, go next door where they're serving rum balls. I think that's a good tip. If something comes with gravy, use it. That's the whole point of gravy. Gravy does not stand alone. Pour it, make a volcano out of your mashed potatoes, fill it with gravy, eat the volcano, and repeat. As for mashed potatoes, always ask if they're made with skim milk or whole milk. If it's skim, pass. Why bother? It's like buying a sports car with an automatic transmission. Makes no sense. Under no circumstances should you exercise between now and New Year. You can do that in January when you have nothing else to do. This is the time for long naps, which you will need after circling the buffet table while carrying a 10-pound plate of food and that vat of eggnog. As for pies, apple, pumpkin, mincemeat, have a slice of each. Or, if you don't like mincemeat, have 2 apples and 1 pumpkin. Always have 3. When else do you get to have more than 1 dessert? Labor Day? Did someone mention fruitcake? Granted, it's loaded with the mandatory celebratory calories, but avoid it at all costs. I do have some standards. Okay, so those are some of my holiday eating tips. I hope that helps all of you. The next presentation we have is leisure services.